the scientific understanding of the nature of existence is so utterly fascinating.
Well, as Aristotle said, wonder is the beginning of philosophy, because it strikes you that existence is very, very strange.
People have different ways of responding to the thought that they're very lucky to be alive. For me, it seems to suggest a great responsibility to make the most of it.
If you had an interview with God, you were allowed to ask one question, but you will soon find that you have no idea what to ask, because I cannot formulate the question that is my wonder.
One and all, welcome. I am Nick Muniz. This is Nick's Nonfiction. Today on the show, we have got Jonathan Haidt's The Happiness Hypothesis. What's the definition of politics? Poly, meaning many, and ticks, meaning blood-sucking parasites. Here's Johnny! Jonathan Haidt is back to make you think twice about the institutions we take for granted. His last appearance, it was a doozy. You might remember The Righteous Mind. We learned that all Democrats are pedos and all conservatives have sex with chickens. The Happiness Hypothesis is a book about the 10 great ideas. Each chapter is an attempt to savor one idea that has been discovered by several world civilizations, to question it in light of what we know now through scientific research. We go to the moon, we know what red dwarfs are and leptons. Why can't we find out what happiness is? Does Johnny know the way? Can the left-right debate finally be put to bed by ancient cultures? Hey, should we eat our pet dogs? The problem with politics today is Republicans treat people like dogs. Democrats treat dogs like people. All the while the Mexicans, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. About the other Jonathan Haidt. Sipping on some coffee today. We're talking about happiness. But just like my coffee, I am going to be bitter. Happiness. You gotta get angry to find out what happiness really is. Jonathan Haidt, we've done it once. We're not doing it again. The Righteous Mind, definitely check that one out. It's a certified hood classic. I've been asking my doctor, when can we anticipate the next pandemic? He tells me, I don't know. I'm not really into politics.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
The Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt. Chapter 1, The Happiness Hypothesis. What should I do? How should I live? And whom should I become? Many of us ask these questions, and modern life being what it is, we don't have to go far to find answers. Wisdom is now so cheap and abundant that it floods over us in calendar pages, tea bags, bottle caps, and mass emails forwarded by well-meaning friends. We are in a way like residents of Georges Borges' Library of Babel, an infinite library whose books contains every posting, strings, letters, and therefore somewhere an explanation of why the library exists and how to use it. But George Borges' library suspects that we will never find the book amid the miles and miles of nonsense. It's a great point. Bro, we have the Library of Alexandria in our pocket. What a goddamn good allegory. The Library of Babel. It's a Twilight Zone episode too. The world ends, you're the only guy left, you have all the books. Are you going to find the answer to happiness in your book? The Happiness Hypothesis. We have all this information at the touch of our fingers. Why can't we just find the right book on the shelf that'll teach us how to be happy? Let's look towards science and data. We know what neutrons are. We know that Schrodinger could make cats disappear. But still, 2/3 of Americans are on pharmaceutical drugs to be happy.
Helicopter, helicopter.
Bro, we're so fucking smart. We're so civilized and advanced. Record numbers of people are killing themselves. I am a social psychologist. I do experiments to try to figure out the corners of human social life, and my corner is morality and human emotions. To summarize the ideas that our emotions are reactions to events, I could not say it any more concisely than Shakespeare. There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. I stepped on it. Shakespeare, there's no such thing as good and bad. It's you, your thinking, that makes it so. This is coming from the psychologist, Jonathan Haidt. Think it's coming from me, the English teacher, quoting goddamn Shakespeare? The world is a stage. He already told you. thinking is what makes things good or bad. It just is, man. Shakespeare, you goddamn hippie. Helping people find happiness and meaning is precisely the goal of the new field of positive psychology, a field in which I've been so active. So this book is a way about the origins of positive psychology in ancient wisdom and the applications of positive psychology today. Shakespeare is doing more for mental health than therapists. You think about it. Directors, people who are making movies and TV shows, they're making people so much happier than these goddamn therapists. At this point in the story, we are ready to ask the question, where does happiness come from? There are several different happiness hypotheses. One is that happiness comes from getting what you want, but we all know and research confirms that happiness of this type is short-lived. Just getting what you want, is that the answer to life? A more promising hypothesis is that happiness comes from within and cannot be obtained by making the world conform to your desires. This idea was widespread in the ancient world. Buddha in India and the Stoic philosophers of ancient Greece and Rome counseled people to break their emotional attachments to people and events which are always unpredictable and uncontrollable, and to instead cultivate an attitude of acceptance. So the West, ad nauseum, will tell you as long as you get the next point of success, you're going to be happy. You're going to be happy forever once you get that promotion.
Obama.
You'll be happy forever. And then the East has this idea that happiness has to come from within. But for some reason, the Romans and the Greeks, they figured this out too, that happiness has to come from within. So it's not totally East-West. Nick, you're being too hippie. No, I'm a Stoic today, bro. Several different happiness hypotheses exist. I'll suggest that the happiness hypothesis offered by Buddha and the Stoics should be amended. Happiness comes from within and from without. We need the guidance of both ancient wisdom and modern sciences to get the balance right. The problem is when you start looking for happiness without, people usually confuse it with pleasure. We'll go deeper into that later, but just think about breaking happiness from within. St. Paul said, "For what the flesh desires is opposite to the spirit, and what the spirit desires is opposite to the flesh. For these are opposed to each other to prevent you from doing what you want." It's goddamn crux down here. The age of Pisces, the cross. The brain and the body, they can't get along. I first rode a horse in 1991 in Great Smoky National Park, North Carolina. I'd been on rides as a child where some teenager led the horse by a short rope, but this was the first time just me and the horse, no rope. I wasn't alone. There was 8 other people on 8 other horses, and one of the people was a park ranger, so he didn't ask much of me for the ride. There was, however, one difficult moment. When we were riding along a path on a steep hillside 2x2, my horse was on the outside, walking about 3 feet from the edge. Then the path suddenly sharply fell, and my horse was straining for the edge. I froze. I had to steer left, but there was another horse to my left, and I didn't want to crash. I might have called out for help or screamed, "Look out!" But at some part, I preferred the risk of going over the edge to looking stupid. So I just froze. I did nothing at all in the critical 5 seconds in which my horse and my life was in my own hands. As my panic subsided, my laughter of ridiculous fear happened exactly as I thought. The horse followed the path that it had walked 100 times. I had gotten off so wrong. I had spent the previous 10 years driving cars, not horses. Cars go over edges unless you tell them not to. Horses got a mind of their own. Your body is not a car. You are not in control of it. It is a horse. It is a 3,000-pound beast that has an equal say as you. This is very important for Chapter 1, Happiness Hypothesis. Well, if I could just push my body, man, push it to the limits, run another 3,000 miles with David Goggins. Your horse is gonna kick you in the fucking face. Get 3 knee replacements, 5 heart transplants. You're not driving a car, bro. Your body is alive. It has a mind of its own, and you can only suggest it and pull the reins a little bit. So this is maybe we could do a little Eastern-Western comparison here. In the West, we're Fordists. The subconscious, we see it as a car. It has 0 intelligence. I must use my voice to direct my body and my entire destiny. Easterners, they're in touch with their horse girl.
This is a certified hood classic.
Everybody's got that inner horse girl. It's time to go big brain. Human thinking depends on metaphor. We understand new or complex things in relation to things we already know. For example, it is hard to think about life in general, but once you apply the metaphor, life is a journey, the metaphor guides you to some conclusions. So think about more Western Fordist versions of life. First grade, second grade, third grade, graduation, new job, new family, retire, death. Once you say life is a journey, it's about diffuse happiness rather than all these peaks and valleys of depression and high manic states. Or you could just go, it's a fucking journey, bro. Ride the journey. But I have to go to 7th grade. Plato used the metaphor of the horse and the chariot. Ben Franklin, he would say, the horse of passion should be directed by the reins of man. So again, I'm going stoic today. It's totally in the middle. But the hard question we have to ask ourselves, is it possible to be happy outside of the worldview that we're sold? Let's go to chapter 2. The elephant in the room. Modern theories about rational choice and information processing don't adequately explain weakness of the will. The older metaphors about controlling animals work beautifully. The image that I came up with myself as I marveled at my weakness was I was riding on the back of an elephant. I'm holding the reins in my hand and pulling one way or the other, but I could tell the elephant to turn or stop, trying to direct it, but it has desires of its own. All right, we're not horse girls. That was a level 1 example. You're riding an elephant, and this Jonathan Haidt, he's nerfing it, all right? You got a Marvel superhero demigod underneath you. It's not even a horse, bro. It's not an elephant. You have the power of the universe. That's the elephant in the room. Your subconscious, the thing that you can't talk to in your language, it's pretty powerful. We sometimes say that the body has a mind of its own, but the French philosopher Michel de Montaigne went a step further and suggested that each part of the body has its own emotions and its own agenda. Montaigne was most fascinated by the independence of the penis. We are right to note and license disobedience of this member, which thrusts itself forward so inopportunely when we don't want it to. Bro, my penis has led me places that I shouldn't have gone without a gun. My dick has a mind of its own. The French, they're thinking all the body parts have different minds. Montaigne also noted that the ways in which our facial expressions betray our secret thoughts. Our hair stands on end, our heart races, our tongues fail to speak, and our bowels and anal sphincters undergo dilations. This is the autonomic nervous system. You got 100 million neurons that you're not even in control of. This is a book about happiness. Tens of millions of Americans are on SSRIs, happy pills. So do these work? This is another elephant in the room that we don't talk about. 2/3 of adults are on drugs. Psychoactive, hardcore, rearrange your brain drugs. This isn't a fucking puff of pot. Selective serotonin uptake re-inhibitors. Hence, many of the initial side effects of Prozac and other selective serotonin uptake inhibitors involve nausea, bowel dysfunctions. Trying to improve the workings of the head brain can directly interfere with the gut brain. So remember, everything has its own brain. So Prozac in makes other parts of the brain not work. You hear all these guys, they talk about losing their dicks when you get on these stupid pills. Bro, be a man. Sometimes you're going to be sad, but that means you get to fuck harder. Let's go! For real, you gotta take a fucking pill because you having sad time? Don't you want a dick? There's different brains, bro. You can't disconnect. You're locked in for life down here, right? There's no special... You gotta deal with the sadness. That's what makes you happy. What did he say? Nausea, bowels. Prozac, I don't know if you know this, but it's one chemical chain away from fluorine. Okay, fluorine, fluoride, the thing that's proven to lower your IQ. There's no free rides. You're taking a happiness pill? Yeah, it's making you fucking retarded. It makes you feel the pain less. It also makes you feel the pleasure less. And you're just less susceptible and sensitive for incoming information. You're zombifying yourself. I don't care what the hell you do. If your doctor told you so, he is your... Take it as a suppository. I don't give a fuck. I'm doing this show for free. The happiness hypothesis, it's not a magic pill. Okay, that's pleasure. You're at the pleasure. So the elephant in the room, you're not really in control of the elephant. And they tell you, well, if you take this magic pill, then you're in control of the elephant. Well, no, I just lost control of my dick. Why would you ever take anything where the side effect could be killing your number one member? What? Bro, you can only guide it. These are powerful forces. And he talked about the split brain experiments in this book when you sever the corpus callosum. There's research and reason to suggest that some of these drugs are giving you lobotomies. This finding that people will fabricate reasons to explain their own behavior is called confabulation. Confabulation is so frequent in the work of split brain patients that the suffering brain damage, gazinga, refers to the language center of the left side of the brain and the interpreter module. All right, so your elephant walks into the kitchen and it goes straight to the refrigerator. It opens up the refrigerator and then you come to. You ever have this happen? You're like, why the hell am I looking in the refrigerator? It's because your elephant led you there. Your brain is a confabulation machine. It is an interpreter model. It's not really what's happening. These stories, this language we're using, it's after the fact. It's an advanced confabulation computer. This talking mind. Bro, I'm telling you, my dick has led me places that I should have never gone. Half the time, I don't want to be messaging these Tinder girls, but my dick is like, nah, dude, you have to. Just keep talking to her. What is happening? I don't want to talk to her. It's the elephant, bro. My elephant is my dick, and my dick is an elephant. Chapter 3, Reciprocity. You gotta listen to the body. You gotta listen to what it wants. If you don't do it, it'll stop communicating with you. It is reciprocity. Rabbi Hillel says, that which is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow. This is in New Worlds. This is the entire Torah. Reciprocity, it's the golden rule. It's the basis of true religion. When the sages pick a single word or principle to elevate above all others, the winner is almost either love or reciprocity. Both are ultimately about the same thing, the bonds that tie us to one another. Because nearly all animals that live in cooperative groups live in groups of close relatives, most altruism in the animal kingdom refers to simple axioms that shared genes equals shared interest. But because the sharing drops off so quickly with each fork in the family tree, kin altruism explains only how groups of a few dozen or perhaps 100 animals can work together. So now that we're in a global society, it's too big to trace true reciprocity. There's a diffusion of responsibility because the tribe got too big. You know, we can't adapt to a hive mind that big. What would you do if you received a Christmas card from a complete stranger? This actually happened in a study in which psychologists sent Christmas cards to people at random. The great majority sent him a card in return. In his insightful book, Influence 9, Robert Cialdi of Arizona State cites this and other studies as evidence that people have mindless automatic reciprocatory reflexes. Sometimes I just open the goddamn fridge and not know why I'm there. People are out there on autopilot sending mail. The reciprocity network, it's like short-circuited because we take in so much information. A cat stalks a mouse using the same low-down wiggle, close-then-pounce technique used by cats around the world. The cat uses the same technique to attack a string trailing a ball of yarn because the string activates the cat's mouse tail detector. Cialdi sees human reciprocity as similar ethological reflexes. A person receives a favor from an acquaintance and wants to repay the favor. The person will even repay an attempted favor for a stranger, such as a receipt of a Christmas card. It's like nudes, alright? You want to get a nude? You gotta give a nude.
Sin City was a maybe.
The animal and human experience are not exactly parallel, however. The gulls and cats are responded to visual stimuli with specific bodily movements. Executed immediately, this person's responding to the meaning of a situation. So he's getting into how the elephant in the room is always telling itself the story. or you're trying to catch up with the elephant. This is what women are into. They don't have the same visual cortex as men. So they have to tell themselves the stories to fill in the blank space. Even if there isn't a story there, they have to confabulate one. Which is why bitches are fabulous. They're always making fucking stories up. Because they don't have the same visual complex as us, so they have to get stimulated by stories. It's just a harmonious relationship, bro. It's the two sides of the same coin. You're going to go out in nature, you're going to see birds eating bugs off the backs of quadrupeds, dogs and cats scratching each other's back. It's reciprocity. Dunbar points out that chimpanzees live in groups around 30, and like all social primates, they spend enormous amounts of time grooming each other. Human beings ought to live in groups of 150 people, judging from logarithms of our brain size. Dweller's book addresses subjects from 150 group sizes within people, know just about everyone directly by name and face. Everybody's got 1,000 Instagram followers. But this diffusion that I'm trying to get the point across, trolls are the perfect example. Like reciprocity. The internet could work like nature. Reciprocity. You watch somebody's free video, and you leave a free like. Reciprocity. But trolls have no consideration for community. You're amidst 7 billion other viewers on the platform, so you can detach from your responsibility. Hey, I just gave you 50 fucking minutes of free entertainment, and you're not going to subscribe? It's just the reality of it. And it's only going to exacerbate the further we go into the digital world. So what do? You turn the other cheek, as the J-Man told us. Or you stab my back, I stab yours. Chapter 4, The Pursuit of Happiness. That's what we're after here, after all. Reciprocity. Early civilizations looking for happiness. The elephant in the room. But how do we pursue happiness? Buddha said, "Good men at all times surrender in truth all attachments. The holy spend not idle words on things of desire. When pleasure or pain comes to them, the wise feel above pleasure and pain." What did Shakespeare said? There is no such thing as good or bad. It is thinking that makes it so. Buddha. Goddamn Shakespeare plagiarizing Buddha. My boy Epictetus said the same thing. Do not seek to have events happen as you want them to, but instead, want them to happen as they do happen, and your life will go well. Bro, if money and power could buy happiness, then rich people would just leave us alone. Marcus Aurelius, he was the richest emperor. He had excesses of land, harems of women. This guy spent all of his time writing books about how to be happy. He had all the land, he had all the women, and all the fruit and the riches. Why wasn't he happy? Because pleasure is not happiness. Pleasure, even though it gives you a rush of excitation, that's not what happiness is, bro. And I only think if you go deep enough into pleasure, you will figure this out. Because people really make the grass so green on the other side. Man, if I could just fucking sit on my ass and drink beer and jack off and smoke and do bad things all day, then pleasure would be happiness. Try it, bro. Fucking try it. Pleasure is in pursuit. Eclastices, much like King Marcus, he said, I made great works. I built houses, planted vineyards for myself. I made myself gardens and parks. I planted all kinds of fruit trees. I also had great possessions, herds and flocks, more than any who walked before me in Jerusalem. I also gathered for myself silver and gold, treasures of the kings and other provinces. I got singers, both men and women, and delights of the flesh, many, many concubines. So I became great and surpassed all who were before me in Jerusalem. But then I considered that all my hands that I had done to toil, I had spent doing it again and again in vanity, chasing after wind, and there was nothing to be gained under the sun. Eclastices had everything! Everything! He's like, I'll be right back, guys. This fucking sucks. But wait, Eclastasies, you have everything. This fucking sucks. Having isn't happiness. Pursuing is happiness. He was happy when he was on the way. I'm going to be the biggest man in Jerusalem ever. And then he gets there and he goes, this fucking sucks. So happiness, it's not about self-help. It's about self-love. That's another big bomb I just dropped on you. Like, self-help is what people think stoicism is. Grind culture. Oh, look at Nick, he's yelling at people to read again. That's not what this is, bro. It's about self-love. Stoicism is true self-love. I know I'm going to feel better when I do better. So I have to do something to get you over that motherfucking hump. And call it anger or bitterness. It's just energy, bro. That's how you go into the mode of pursuit. It does take a little bit of a kickstart. This is where the spark of happiness comes from within. You're never going to have one thing that makes you happy. A trophy. The king tells us about many other avenues he pursued. Hard work, learning, wine, but nothing brought satisfaction. Dude, we got to spend a minute on that. So having everything, being the king, everybody thinks it's going to make him happy. That doesn't work. What about learning? Okay, miss the goddamn books right here. Learning. I'm going to be so happy when I learn my 50th book. Nah, dude. It's literally self-love. It's not even self-improvement. That's true stoicism, self-love. It's not learning. Okay, it's not having everything. It's not wine. As I said, it's not going to be these pleasurable vices. And it's not hard work. How's that for grind culture? Stoicism is evil. Bro, hard work is bullshit. You gotta love yourself. Lock him up. Lock him up. He ended the game. No. Work hard. Working is how you be happy. Love yourself, bro. Buddhism and Stoicism teach that striving for external goods or to make the world conform to your wishes is always striving after wind. Happiness can only be found within. You get to take any of those fancy riches or wine or hard work with you into the afterlife? Or is it just vibes, bruh? Level 2. Pursuit of Happiness chapter. Very important. Taking a sip of coffee. Bro, I haven't had coffee in 2 years. I'm liking a different energy for the show today. The author of Eclastasies wasn't just battling the fear of meaninglessness, he was battling the disappointment of success. Woo! That is a phrase you will never hear in Western society. Disappointment of success. Remember I just made that joke about Eclastasies, the king of Jerusalem? This fucking sucks. The disappointment of success. He made it. He's at the top. Oh my god, I'm gonna be so happy. Wait, this fucking sucks.
This is a certified hood classic.
You cannot teach kids about this because they have to be our fodder and fuel for society. If you teach people at a young age that true happiness does not come from success and hard work, they'll put you in a goddamn cage. The disappointment of success. You dream about getting a promotion, being accepted into a prestigious school, or finishing a big project. You wake every working hour, perhaps imagining how happy you would be if you could just achieve that goal. Then you succeed. As if you're lucky, you get an hour or maybe a day of euphoria. More typically, however, you don't get any euphoria. When success seems increasingly probable and some final event confirms your success, the feeling is of relief, and then the pleasure concloses to the release. Bro, it's relief. You're not actually happy when you do a goal. It's like you were clenching your fist and you finally get to relief into release.
It would be so awesome.
So that's what I'm saying back in the beginning. The West versus the East. The West is up, down, 5th grade, 6th grade, down, 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 summer. Oh, no, wait, you gotta read. Versus the East. It is the release. And again, play the game however you want. It's just people don't realize, why am I stressed out? It's because the only way you've ever known how to make happiness was by creating stress. So the success can only release dopamine when your brain allows it to. It's so crazy, bro. How could... It's just mind control. Really, I'm trying to communicate it to you digestible. This is mind control. You set up the markers for what releases dopamine, and that's why people become shopaholics and all this type of stuff. They don't know that they could release their own dopamine. People have many goals and therefore many sources of pleasure. So you think we would receive an enormous long-lasting shot of dopamine whenever we succeed an important goal. But here's the trick with reinforcement. It works best when it comes second, not minus or important to the goal. So of course you should still have goals. This is a story and you should try to shoot upwards. But that cannot be your source of happiness. Just trying to train your dog to fetch by giving him a big steak 10 minutes after each successful retrieval, it can't be done. The elephant works the same way. It feels pleasure wherever it takes a step in the right direction. The elephant learns whenever pleasure or pain follows immediately and after behavior, but it has trouble connecting success on Friday with actions it took on Monday. So the important thing about that quote is the elephant feels pleasure when it takes step in the right direction. It's the pursuit of happiness. Pleasure is some bullshit. Chapter 5, Balance. William Blake wrote, "Without contraries to no progression, attraction and repulsion, reason and energy, love and hate are necessary to human existence." Some duality for you. The ancient Chinese symbol of yin-yang represents the value of eternally shifting balance between seemingly opposite principles. As the epigram of Blake shows, this is not just an Eastern idea, it is a great idea, a timeless insight that in any way summarizes the rest of the book. It's not exclusive to the East, as I was saying. Blake is writing about it, the Stoics. The ancients might have known little about biology, chemistry, and physics, but they were good psychologists. Psychology and religion can benefit by taking each other seriously. The Bible is a psychology book. The Father and the Son, the elephant and the man, the conscious and the subconscious. It's literally a psychology book. Religion and science, for example, are often thought to be opposites. The righteous mind, you're my opposite. You're the same coin. Religion and science are thought to be opposites. Trust the science, believe the experts. Religion and science they're thought to be opposites. The seance is the opposite of religion. Religion and science are thought to be opposites. But as I have shown, the insight of ancient religion and modern science are both needed to reach full understanding. And finally, liberals and conservatives are opponents in the most literal sense, each using the myth of pure evil to demonize the other. I hate you! All Democrats, you're LGBTQ demons! Conservatives, you fuck chickens! You're the opposite of me! Conservatives, on one hand, are experts in thinking about loyalty to the group. They love tradition. A society without liberals would be harsh and oppressive to many individuals. A society without conservatives would lose many of the social structures and constraints that their kind should have value. You need each other. You guys need each other. Society without liberals, that's a 1984 police state. Society without conservatives, that's a 7-day-a-week RuPaul Drag Race. Balance. You already know the idea. Comment on your own side. If you can take off the blinders of the myth of pure evil, you might see some good ideas for the foist time. Can't we all just get along? Rodney King says before getting stomped to death by cops. Rodney, we don't want to get along. We need safe spaces for human hate. Free-flowing hate, so we could reach our happiness. Trump! No! Donald Trump! By drawing on wisdom that is balanced, ancient, and new, Eastern and Western, even liberal and conservative, we can choose directions in life that will lead to satisfaction, happiness, and a sense of meaning. By drawing on humanity's greatest ideas and best science, we can train the elephant, know our possibilities, as well as our limits, and live wisely. That has been Jonathan Haidt's The Happiness Hypothesis. I'm Nick Muniz. We do this every single 7 days. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to all of the listeners. Hit the like button. Let's practice some reciprocity. And I'll see you all in 7 short days. Nick Muniz signing off. Peace!